Welcome to One on One, the Daily Items weekly digital program featuring Susquehanna Valley newsmakers interviewed by Daily Item reporters. Today's guest is World War II veteran Carson Shrawder of Hummel's Wharf, interviewed by Rick Dandies.
The Sunbury Motor Company.
Austin Martin, Kia Elite Sales Consultant, Maranatha Christian School.
Amber Wren, Certified Hyundai and Lincoln Sales Consultant, Selinsgrove Area High School.
Ian Chakosky, Certified Ford Sales Professional, Mount Carmel and Shamokin area.
Christopher Stengline, Ford Certified Sales Consultant, Selinsgrove Area High School.
Tom Mertz, fourth generation owner, Sunbury Motor Company, Shikellamy High School.
A tradition of trust since 1915.
Welcome to a special edition of One on One. Today we're speaking with a true American hero, one of our World War II vets who participated in the part of the Normandy invasion as one of the 4th Infantry Division, Carson Shrawder. Carson, thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Carson, before we begin talking about your service time, are you from this? Have you always been from this area?
I was born about 2 blocks up the road here, and as far as I got, I'm from the area.
We're from Hummel's Wharf, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And now you told me that when you joined the service, you really couldn't join in the beginning. You were still in high school. Can you tell me about that?
Is what was that?
You were still in high school, that they wouldn't let you in because you were
I was a senior in high school, and my birthday is in April. I turned 18 in April of 1943, and I wanted to go in the military immediately, but they didn't take me. They wanted me to finish high school, which I did. I graduated then from Selinsgrove High School in 1943.
Yeah. And you had told me also that was a time when a lot of people wanted to get in. There was a lot of
us young guys back then. It must be a different breed than what it is now, because everybody wanted to get in the military, and at that time they did take a lot of fellas that wouldn't. I don't think they would pass the physical today, but they took them into the military back then.
Okay. And so you went in, and then I guess you, like all the soldiers, when they go in, you go into basic training.
Yeah.
You were trained as infantry?
Well, I was sent with, there was, I think, I don't know, about 12 of us from Snyder County, and we were sent to Camp Croft, South Carolina, for we had 17 weeks. I think they call it basic training.
Yeah.
With 17 weeks, and then when I was finished that, then I went to for a couple of weeks to University of Georgia. It's called ASTP training, Army Specialized Training Program. But then while I was there, they discontinued that, and then they sent me up to Fort Meade, Maryland, and from Fort Meade, Maryland, I went to Camp Shanks, New York, and from there to Glasgow, Scotland.
Oh, so that's when they sent you overseas. All right. So you got the word that you were going to be part of the invasion. Yeah. Now, you told me the other day you were part of the second wave.
Yeah.
Onto Utah Beach.
We sailed from Southampton. So that's a port. A seaport on the southern part of England. When we were on this bigger ship, I don't know, there was maybe 1,000 of us on it.
Yeah.
And then they put us on a little boat, and they told me they called them. This is the name that I remember: Higgins boats. They carried about I don't remember, about 20 people.
Yeah, those are the ones that got you close to the shore. Now, you had told me also that Utah Beach, a lot different from Omaha Beach. It was a wide beach, and you didn't encounter much enemy fire. You said you had support from the Air Force. There had been some And so you moved on to Cherbourg.
Yeah. Well, see, the 4th Infantry Division actually went in on Utah Beach.
Yeah.
Utah Beach.
Yeah.
And we had then in the 82nd Airborne, they jumped. I can't tell you how far, but they jumped maybe 2-3 miles inland, and that's where I was telling you. I saw a couple. Now there was no bodies on them anymore when I saw it, but parachutes hanging on the church steeples,
Jeez.
in trees, and
Wow. Carson, you certainly didn't have it easy. You saw a lot of action. You told me that you moved Cherbourg, and again, you were infantry. You were part of the mortar.
When we went at Utah Beach, we went in and we headed west, which would been towards Cherbourg, west on Normandy.
Peninsula, or whatever it was. Yeah.
Normandy,
Yeah.
but anyhow, we headed west, and then when I say we, I mean the 4th Infantry Division and the 82nd Airborne. We cut off quite a few German soldiers. We kind of, I don't know what, well, anyhow, they surrendered, let's put it that way.
Okay. So you moved from Cherbourg, and you actually did a lot. You took a trip through Europe, basically, as you headed towards Germany. Is that to Paris and Germany?
Well, the Hergen Forest happened in the end of November and the beginning of December, the end of 1944. That was the Battle of the Hergen Forest. That was that was awful.
Yeah, you told me that was horrible.
And it was well, it rained, it sleeted, and well, the elements were all against us, but we kept moving ahead. But they sometimes we wouldn't gain more than the length of a football field in a day. We push them back just 100 yards.
A lot of Germans defending that.
Oh, a lot.
I mean, you survived that. You weren't wounded or anything?
That's the place where this little German Hitler Youth kid crawled in the foxhole with me.
With you?
That was in the Battle of the Hergen Forest.
That's an amazing story, what you told me.
And he was only maybe, well, I don't know. I'm going to say he was from 12 to 16 years old, somewhere in that range. And I'll never forget his face. He had red hair and freckles.
Wow.
And,
so you told me you were asleep, and you woke up, and all of a sudden there was a young German.
We had pulled. I was in the 81 millimeter mortars. This was in the Battle of the Hergen Forest.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the 81 millimeter mortars, and we drawed shifts. Two guys on during the night. We always had two guys on the gun.
Yeah.
During the daytime, we had like 6 to 8. Well, I drawed the shift about in the middle of the night, and I thought it was the fellow waking me up to go on the shift that I was supposed to go on.
Oh, Lord.
And it wasn't that at all. It was this little kid, and well, he bent over backwards to be a friend of us guys there, and we did not harm him. I want to repeat something there too. We didn't. The group I was with, we never treated any German civilians rough or anything. We never we treated them like human beings. Now the Germans didn't treat some of the other civilians like human beings, but we did. And I know, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. I got to talk to this young woman. Well, when I say young woman, she was probably about 30 years old. And she told me she taught English in the German school. She was the English teacher. And she's the one that I told her. I told her when I got to know her pretty well there for about a day, I said, we are not here to conquer you people. We are here to liberate you people. Mm-hmm. And you get what I'm...
What'd she say? Do you remember what she said?
She told me, that this was in the evening, she told me she'd get a good night's sleep for the first time, and I can't tell you how long, but it was like a year or two.
Yeah,
She said you had to be scared. You never knew when the Gestapo would be knocking on your door. She said you couldn't talk anything at home because they made the little kids, the Hitler Youth, they made them attend some kind of meetings at night, in the evenings, I guess it was. And then they would ask them what their parents talked about. And she said if those little kids if you'd say something and those little kids would repeat it, boy, you had to watch out.
Spying. They're spying on their parents. Now, Carson, you told me also, which is just a few more things and then we're through. You told me a little bit about Dachau. You marched into Dachau.
Concentration camp, yeah. Well, I'll have to start kind of the beginning. It was coming late in the evening. I think it was in April sometime, late in the evening, and the odor was terrific. And it reminded me when I was a kid, between Middleburg and Penns Creek, they called it a rendering plant. In other words, it's a fertilizer plant. That's what it actually is. Yeah. But they were processing
chickens,
dead animals.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this smelled like. And the closer we got, the more the odor. And it was getting dark, and we got up there pretty close, and here we run into this barbed It was rolls of barbed wire. I'd say they were 3 foot in diameter, and 3 or 4, and they'd lay three together, then 2, and then 1. Like a pyramid.
Sure.
And a lot of times they had them booby trapped, so we didn't dare cut the wires. So what they brought up then. Now, what I'm using here, the word you may not understand exactly if you weren't in the military. They call them Bangulo torpedoes. It's TNT in a pipe about 1.25 inches in diameter, maybe 2.5, 3 foot long. That's this, and then they screw together. So I was one of the guys laying up there, and I screwed them together, and we pushed them through and under the barbed wire. And then there was a signal corps fellow with us. We had a signal corps attached to us, and he had this, I'm going to call it doorbell wire. It's a real small wire. Uh-huh. And we went back maybe, 150 feet, something like that. And then he touched them together. Well, when that exploded, that barbed wire just rolled back, and then there was about maybe a 10 or 15 foot path through the barbed wire.
That's how you got it.
And then this was getting close to early in the morning. When we got through there, it might have been like, maybe 5 o'clock. Well, when we got in, our eyes didn't believe what we saw. In fact, there was a captain with us. He's the one that broke down, and the one sergeant had he put his arm around him and kind of said he should be composed or something, Well, he wasn't crying, but the tears were dropping off his chin. I was only away from him maybe 25 feet, and when we got into this camp then, we saw all kinds of things. Well, anyhow, the thing that runs in my mind, these two German women, the one was some kind of an officer, and she's the one that come out and was shaking her finger in one of the riflemen's face, you know. Well, she didn't shake it long. He hit her with the butt of the rifle. I don't know if he hit her in the stomach or in the breast, but he hit her, and she collapsed. And then they drug her to the side. There was a street going down, a little street made out of cobblestones. You know, these they call them cobblestones. They're about 9 inches square, something like that. But anyhow, then we moved a little farther ahead, and that's when we run into the furnace was hot yet, where they were cremating bodies.
Yeah, we won't go too heavily into that, but it was, let's just say, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
They had, I call it box cars. You know, I think they call coal on them around here. It's a railroad car.
Yeah.
And now I only saw with my eyes. I saw probably 4, 5, or 6. Well, there was probably more than what I saw, and they were piled full of. I don't know how many human beings in one car, but it smelled awful. The human waste was running out the bottom of them.
Oh boy! So you liberated that. Let's just get to when did you find out the war was over? You had gone.
Well,
and what did you?
We had advanced. Partly into Czechoslovakia, and then they said ahead of us was we could hear in the distance shell fire and stuff going off, and they told us it was the Russian army. Mm-hmm. Well, it was the Russian army, but it wasn't Russian. It was Romanian soldiers. They were from Romania.
Tell me how you celebrated the end of the war with that soldier. You said.
Oh, when they came in there, I think all those Romanian soldiers were carrying a bottle of vodka. Yeah. I guess it's 100 proof or something. But anyhow, when they came in, they put on a little dance, and I know the one offered me a
drink,
a little thing like I told you, a woman's thimble about that size. And I didn't want to take it, but he insisted, so I didn't want to. I wanted to satisfy him, so I took it. Well, that burnt for 2-3 days.
All right. So the war was over, and you came back here.
But just before that, we had they brought up pup tents. You know what a pup tent?
Sure.
And you get a half a shelter. So 2 guys put theirs together, and early in the morning, we heard this guy come down the road. The war is over. Here it was one of our staff sergeants, and I got out of under the pup tent, and I hollered at him. I said, "Sergeant, I don't go too much for jokes now." He said, "It's over. It's over." And it was. I mean, it was no joke. It was over, but I thought he was joking.
Okay. Well, it was over. Thank God it was over, and that you're okay. And it's been an honor talking to you about this. Carson, thank you for talking to me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Join us again for another edition of One-on-One.
The Sunbury Motor Company.
Austin Martin, Kia Elite Sales Consultant, Maranatha Christian School.
Amber Wren, Certified Hyundai and Lincoln Sales Consultant, Seals Bavaria High School.
Ian Chakosky, Certified Ford Sales Professional, Mount Carmel and Shamokin area.
Christopher Stengline, Ford Certified Sales Consultant, Seals Bavaria High School.
Tom Mertz, 4th generation owner, Sunbury Motor Company, Shikellamy High School.
A tradition of trust since 1915.
Thanks for watching One-on-One. Be sure to tune in next week for another edition.